So with that said, I will turn it over first to Donald, and just a little bit about Donald. I came across Donald when I think I was listening to like some podcasts, and there was a podcast I came across, and he was speaking about how he founded his company with Virtual Receptionist, and so. But anyway, I'll let Donald talk a little bit about himself and talk about his journey and his story about how he turned a successful side project into a full-time business. Donald?
Hey guys, how you doing? Hope everyone's holding up pretty well with what we hope is the tail end of a very rough period. So first, let me share my screen, and I'll have to wait for the host here to release control. All right. All right, here we go. And okay, here we go. So let me get this started. Now, there's a lot of slides to cover here, and I've got about 20 minutes, so I'll just get right to it. But essentially, we're going to learn about starting a virtual receptionist company and the side hustle that I turned into a 7-figure company and got acquired in October of this past year. Few disclaimers here. I am going to cover a lot in this 20 minutes. So keep in mind that all of these slides that you'll see in the next 20 minutes or so will be provided. So, you know, if you've got time, get your notepad ready, have distractions minimized. I am going to give you a crash course on how I started this business, as well as why, as well as an opportunity to learn more for free if you'd like. In general, nothing is guaranteed and you get out what you put out. But out of 11 different incorporated companies I've had over the years, this virtual receptionist company was the best one. So let's get to it. So a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Chicago, where I am right now. I've wanted to start a business for as long as I could remember. And after going to college, Wisconsin-Madison, I don't know if there's any Badgers in here, but I dropped out, ended up with an 8-year career in sales and sales management before I started my first profitable company at 28 years old. So eventually, I started a company called Companion Maids. It's a cleaning company we launched in 2014. Really excited about this because my dad and I always had these entrepreneurial ambitions, and we always said that we'd eventually start a company together. This was the one we started. So we built it to 500 grand, got acquired in 2017. And about a year into running that company, we realized that we were sick of answering the phones ourselves, right? There were too many other things to focus on. So after looking into the options, I realized the virtual receptionist company in the realm of answering services was the best fit for our needs. So what is a virtual receptionist company? Essentially, it's a fancier premium answering service. There's live agents. We're talking humans that are answering the phone, not robots. And it goes beyond the really like minimized service level provided by a traditional answering service. As opposed to just being a body to pick up the phone, we're actually doing what we can to wow a customer into a good relationship on behalf of our client. So, you know, a virtual receptionist company will do things such as taking inbound calls, routing the calls, message taking, appointment booking, booking consultations on behalf of our clients. Some companies will do things such as live chat, as well as outbound calling for those that need a call done on their behalf. So in short, again, our virtual receptionist company was built out of a need. It was a need that my dad and I had for our company Companion Maids. So it was an organic sort of evolving into eventually starting the company. I realized along the way that I could probably reverse engineer using an existing company as a model and just take a stab at it. Didn't have any information or prior knowledge about call centers, and there really wasn't any information out there at the time. So a bit about the industry. I certainly didn't know this back in 2015, but I think it's very relevant now. The answering service industry is experiencing 6.7% annual growth the past 3 years. There's currently 1,300 companies that average $1.9 million in revenue each, which I thought was crazy. And it's a $2.9 billion market and growing. So let's get real. The majority of you probably aren't very familiar with virtual receptionist companies, and a lot of people don't wake up every morning dying about when can they start a call center. So my original plan was really to dive in and give you a bunch of detailed nuts and bolts, but I realized this wasn't the most valuable approach. The fact is many companies, many different ideas out there will give you an opportunity to gain some revenue and profit, but very few companies are going to be a good fit. So why was a virtual receptionist company a good fit for me? What I hope you'll learn here is thinking about what you want as an entrepreneur, finding a company that fits your mold, gaining some type of a confidence boosting mindset, as well as how to learn more about starting a virtual receptionist company. So over the years, I was throwing a lot of darts at the wall to see what stuck. I had a software company, cleaning company, multiple of those, painting company, photo booth, reputation management, all kinds of things. And I learned some important things about myself through these experiences that culminated with the founding of Vicky Virtual. So this is what I knew about myself going into it. I didn't care that much about business, and frankly, I still don't, but I did care about having control of my life. The initial purpose of starting the company was to have control of my time as well as control of my life. So that meant, I hated corporate life to the point where I would get teary-eyed about having to go to work the next day, and that's true. I knew I didn't want to work 100 hours a week. I had done that before a few times in the corporate world. I also knew I was willing to hustle for a time to really get things established. But again, the goal wasn't work forever, even if it's for yourself. It was control of time and control of life. Few other things, I knew I didn't want to have to innovate. I wanted a simple business that worked. I didn't want the next Facebook. And the goal wasn't $1 billion unicorn, right? I wanted something that it was as surefire as possible, so we could actually create a comfortable life through a business and then maybe swing for the fences later. And then finally, the biggest thing is I wanted freedom of location. So knowing all these things about myself, I realized I'm a lifestyle entrepreneur. So one thing I want you guys to think about is if you're looking into the journey or if you're currently an entrepreneur right now, make sure you define what type of entrepreneur you want to be. There's lifestyle, usually more of a hustle hard, Gary Vaynerchuk, go 24/7 approach, or just, some people have huge $1 billion vision. I did not. So again, I'm a lifestyle entrepreneur, and that's what I learned. So what type of entrepreneur are you? So I had a few woolly crap realizations, as I like to call it. The first is that starting a business is really just completing a series of tasks. There was no magic road involved. Our software company was started because we were venture backed. We had no pressure. So we treated it like a school project. We just did one simple task at a time. Blog post, boom. Website, boom. And after completing a series of tasks, we suddenly had a company. So none of these individual tasks were particularly hard, but by sticking to it, we eventually had 17,000 users and got acquired in 2016 for 7 figures. The second realization was that while a job is relatively stable, it's only one source of income, right? So if I piss off the wrong person, my job is gone. So the beauty of a recurring client business is that every single client is a source of income. If you have 1,000 clients, you literally have, maybe small, but 1,000 different sources of income. Really crazy when I sort of realized that. The third is that having a stable business isn't a pipe dream. A lot of people will say 98% of business owners fail. That's completely untrue. According to the Small Business Administration, 50% of incorporated companies last 5 years or more, and 30% last at least 15 years. So that's a much higher percentage than I thought, and it made me feel a lot better. So why start a virtual receptionist company? It's an in-demand service in a large market, $2.9 billion and growing. Long-term industry that is not going anywhere, right? It requires zero innovation. It's already there. It's a tried and true thing, and you don't have to spend your time thinking about the next product or feature on a monthly basis. Has awesome profit margin. All clients are recurring, so the revenue is as solid as it gets. And finally, it has an inexpensive barrier to entry, but most people think it's harder than it is. A lot of people that think about call centers think about, centralized locations and offices that cost maybe $100,000 to get going. We launched for $500, and the most I was ever in the hole was around $2,000 after we already had client revenue and people working for us. So finally, of course, you can work this business anywhere you want in the world. You just need a laptop and an internet connection. Okay. So going back to the cleaning company, we had a realization, right? We knew that, companion maids, our cleaning company had a need for this. And as a cleaning company, it's a very common company. Exist in every city in the US. So I knew there were others that needed this just like me. So I immediately knew our target market. So I looked for a partner. Second guy I talked to was also a cleaning business owner. He started around the same time as me. We talked all the time. And his business was in Kansas City, Kansas. We talked in late October 2014, set a launch date of January 1st, 2015, and we did launch on that date. 2 months after launch, we were profitable. So our journey, since launching on that date, in 2015, we hit 50 clients. In 2016, we had our first six-figure profit year, and I bought my partner out. In 2017, we more than doubled our 2016 revenue and got our first seven-figure buyout offer. In 2018, we had another record year while I automated the company. By the end of 2018, I was working 5 to 10 hours a week. And in October 2019, we were acquired. So how did we do it? I'm going to give you a nutshell because I'm down to about 10 minutes here. But there's only two things you need to start a call center. One, people that need their phones answered. And two, people that answer the phone for those people. That's it. Anything else, it's just, filler, and you don't have to think too much about conceptually what you're offering outside of that thing. So from a pre-launch perspective, again, we decided on our initial audience. Cleaning companies, we were cleaning company owners, so we would serve cleaning company owners. So we leveraged groups that we were a part of, right? Say whatever industry you're in, we had built some goodwill. So we knew we could reach out to initial people and build a list. We had about 50 emails at launch. We emailed them twice during our pre-launch with updates like, hey, we decided on pricing. Hey, we selected this software vendor, blah, blah, blah. And we also focused on some content marketing, just providing value in terms of things about the virtual receptionist space, answering service space, and why it's important for, in general, a business not to miss the phone call. So day one, we had 7 people sign up off a list of 50. We had 10 by the end of the first week. I did some cold calling early on as well because we wanted to get to 20 clients. And once we did that, we doubled down on our content marketing and we took sort of the long approach in that sense. And by month 6, we were landing 10 plus organic signups a month. So longer term, we started to incorporate Google Ads and sales rep, and the rest is history. From a system perspective, it was also pretty simple, not at first, but now it is. We needed a phone system. I recommend 2, Dialpad for cheap, 5.9 for premium and robust. And again, you guys are going to get these slides. So again, I'm going through it fast, but you can always refer to this. We built our website on WordPress, which I did myself, and I am not a developer, but I got it done. We use G Suite for email and communications, and then JotForm, which is a really cool form tool. We integrate it with Stripe for payment processing, and we integrate that form into our website to process signups. Finally, the receptionist. We only had 2 receptionists to start covering 2 shifts. So our coverage hours were 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern time. So, between the two receptionists, they would cover those hours. Obviously, in that situation, you want your receptionist to be extremely reliable. So we started off with my co-founder's sister and a friend of mine's semi-retired mother, two people we trusted, right? So it wasn't very difficult because of that level of trust. We started our pay at $10 an hour. And, on certain states that ended up being a better income than other states. So we did focus on states where the cost of living was lower for our employees. So our average client paid us about $300 a month, and we could handle 15 to 20 clients per receptionist. We maintain a profit margin around 35%, even as we hit 7 figures. And it took 70 clients to surpass 10 grand a month in profit, and about 300 clients to hit $1 million in revenue. Okay. So what did this business do for me? Honestly, I've been able to be present for any family function, important events for friends, and have time to do what I love. Literally haven't missed one thing that we wanted to go to over the past 5 years. And wife and I, have done a lot of traveling, several countries, as well as all over the US during our marriage. And hopefully once COVID ends, we can resume that. Also, through the company, we've empowered over 100 receptionists to work from home, doing a fulfilling job where we actually delivered value for our clients. So we knew that through our efforts, we could go to sleep at night. Our businesses were getting value, staying ahead of their competitors, growing their businesses, and helping retain their current clients because we enabled them to have a great phone presence. So, got about 5 minutes left. There's a few things to think about. One, why do you want to start a side hustle or company, and what do you want out of it, right? Circling back to what type of entrepreneur are you? And again, circling back to the small business administration fact, 30% of businesses last 15 years. So what type of business will allow you to stay happy once you're established? Because it's not always just about getting long. You want a company that you can sustain because you're happy and maybe excited about running it, right? So what business could you run for 15 years? What is your top 30% business? So if you'd like to learn more, I know I covered a lot and I did it really quickly. I have created a free 4-day virtual receptionist mini course for PRSA students at callcentercast.com/PRSA. It's just a quick 4-day course where we go over the different aspects of starting a business, obviously a lot slower so you can digest more information. And other than that, I really appreciate you guys listening. Thank you guys. And again, the link is callcentercast.com/PRSA. And then you can reach me directly at hello@donaldban.com. And with that, I yield the rest of my time.
From the audience. And so anyway, but I'm going to get started just with a general question to everyone. And any of you can answer this, but given like the current situation right now, like obviously a lot of us are quarantined, working from home, whatnot. And so do you have any advice for anyone who is wanting to start, they have an idea for a business, but they're wanting to start it right now in, whether it's virtual or, and anyway, but like, and obviously you all have businesses right now and you're running them probably virtual right now, or there's some strong component that are virtual, just given our situation. Is there any advice that you guys have for anyone right now who wants to start a business, say tomorrow, given our current environment?
I want to add to what Chrys was saying, like there's no better time to start than now. So just if you are thinking of something that you have had in the back of your mind, now is the time to start. I feel like everyone in some weird way has gotten a clean slate. So since we're all virtual, people are on their computers, on the internet, on their phones so much more than they usually were before. So if you want their attention, you've probably already got it. So now is a really good time to just run and go with it. Whatever it is, now's the time.
Yeah, and one thing too that I think is just a quick thing you can do right now, today, this morning, take a sheet of paper, write down on one side, what am I good at? List all those things. On the other side, write down, what do I absolutely love doing? Or what could I do every day that I love doing? Write those two lists down. start to compare them and figure out, okay, well, how can I either attach these things, or how can I use that list of what am I good at to help provide a solution for someone else? Because that, you don't have to go far for that. You're already enough. You have you to be able to start a business. So use those skills to be able to turn that into something that can help someone else.
Yeah, final thing I'll sort of add there is, you know, a lot of people in an uncertain time like this are going to be timid about just starting something or taking a risk. And I think when most people are timid, that's where there's a larger amount of opportunity, right? Ad costs aren't the same. Facebook is actually going through a bit of a ad boycott right now. And, you know, it can be an opportunity to save some money and get some ads going and make some money for yourself and get yourself out there in exposure. So when times are timid for most people, that's usually the best time to jump in.
Great. I had a question too, because I know I've heard talk a lot of people who, whether they're in PR, they started their own agency, or it was another type of business where they, there was always that period, I think, when they made that leap from a full-time job to starting their own business, where, you know, there was like a moment of like a period of silence, you know, like, you know, it took a while to build that client base or that customer base. And so I think each one of you have probably gone through that, you know, just having your, you know, where it just took a while to get going. And so I didn't know, like, how long for each one of you did it take to kind of really get the ball going with all that? And when did you know that, like, okay, this is actually working now? And like, I have people who are coming to me and they're wanting my business. Like, when did you know that?
So I actually was afraid of that silence a lot. So I did the opposite. I stayed in my job, like, knowingly. I gave myself like a 2-year mile marker, and I had to jump full time within 2 years. So I used those 2 years to ramp up as much possible business as possible. And mentally, I thought of that time as my slow time to get everything out. So by the time I actually ended up leaving my full-time job, I was actually taking PTO to photograph a conference, because my business started, like, people started inquiring for daytime events, where I was like, I have a 9 to 5, but I wouldn't say that. I'd just say, okay, no problem, and be like, I need PTO. So I did the opposite, where I utilized my 9 to 5 to the max. And then when I when I realized, I was like, okay, this is just like not okay. I need to not be taking time off during the day, because it's not okay. That's when I'm like, well, I gotta go. I gotta jump. So I pushed myself to the very, very edge of that. So that when I jumped, I was like, oh yeah, goodbye. I have way too many things going on here, and I have so many projects I've already thought of that I gotta get working on. So I utilized my 9 to 5 the best I could.
Yeah, I definitely had probably like 15 minutes of that silence. Like, I went from quitting my job with my trash can and my files in my hand to my car, and then to Starbucks, where I was like, okay, I gotta redo this whole like PR resume and make it look like fitnessy. I don't know. I'm gonna go pitch myself to like these maybe gyms, or try to find a group to work with that I could train people. So again, I was using my skills. I love working out. Let me go see how I can like get some people on board to pay me for fitness. And that was like the extent of my silence, because I went into like, oh my God mode, like, oh crap. So I built, first started building off of what I had, but then I had a second leap when I moved to Atlanta, and I completely dropped all of my clients, all of my full book of clients, and went completely online. Again, no plan. That could either bite me or not, but no plan. And I said, okay, I need to spend this time that I have and use the money I have and invest in a course or some type of higher learning, someone to show me the way. So I invested in a course that taught me sales, because I did not know sales. And it showed me how to build my fitness business to what it is now. And I use that course to really like catapult myself to the next level. So if you have downtime right now and you have the extra money, or you got to pick up a side gig to invest in someone to tell you what to do, it saves you so much time. Like, Donald has a whole course. I have a whole course on how to XYZ. Find whatever that is, invest in it, And I would do that. It just saves so much time, so much.
Yeah, so for me, I think and great point, guys. For me, I think it's very encouraging whenever you get your first client for a business. So I've had, different companies, but I think the bridge really starts to get crossed once you hit that first client. So the way I treated it was I had an initial monetary goal. With the software company, I just wanted to literally live. I was living at a friend's place in a room, $350 a month, just really struggling to do whatever I can and just hustling. For the cleaning business, I wanted to get to $3,000 a month in profit. Once I hit that, I knew that I was solid. And then, we grew from there. With the virtual receptionist company and other companies, I had larger sort of milestones that I wanted to hit. So I used certain ventures as ways to hit certain personal milestones, and that's what made things a little easier.
I will also add that if your goal is to jump full time, like use all the advantages that a full-time job gives you. Like if you have health insurance, now's the time to go get your eyes checked, go to your specialty doctor, go to the dentist, like do all of that ASAP. And then if your company matches you for 401k, match that, like do all the things now, because when you jump into full time, you are responsible for that separately. You're responsible for finding insurance, for figuring that out. And you might be shocked that it's not as cheap when you're an entrepreneur than it was when you are a full-time employee. So while you have that 9 to 5, take advantage of all the things that they have that you might not have once you jump full-time.
And this is a question for each one of you. You've all had very unique and different journeys to where you guys are at right now. And so what was looking back and you probably touched upon these in some of your presentations, but what was the biggest obstacle that you faced, and it was kind of that you thought, oh, this is it, it's not going to work or whatnot, and how you kind of got through it. And so I know we talked about clients and customers a second ago, but was there any other big challenges that you guys faced?
So I had two things. The first was a bit of a limiting mindset. I mean, I didn't grow up around a lot of entrepreneurs, even though I went to school with a bunch of very wealthy families. And I went to a private school growing up, but we were on financial aid and we didn't have that type of money. So I was around a lot of success, but none of my friends were entrepreneurs and none of my sphere of influence were entrepreneurs. So again, it felt like this magic bridge that you had to have a magic sauce to cross. And it took a long time to get over that. Two, I can't remember what number 2 is, but once I got over the thing of, okay, this isn't magic. It's not something that is only reserved for the celebrity of people that have these perfect careers, and made things a lot easier, and it was a lot easier to take
action. This question is from an attendee. So they asked you to speak to certain platforms and resources that you use to help automate your business. And I guess we can talk about just and really any platform. And I don't know how and there's lots of for small businesses, whether it's LegalZoom or whatever, those platforms are, so I didn't know if you guys could speak to that for a second. And honestly, I think each one of you mentioned the importance of having your virtual presence, your website, your portal to everyone. So people take you seriously. Those optics are extremely important. And so what did you use to build? Did you hire someone to build your website? Did you hire someone to help execute the social media ads? I know Chrys mentioned those and those Facebook ads. So how did you guys do that? What were the resources? What were the actual people or the actual digital resources you guys used?
Yeah, I'll speak to that. I do want to touch on the obstacles portion of it earlier as well. One of the biggest things that I was very concerned about is money, because once you are on your own, you're on your own. And I didn't grow up with a wealthy family. So like if I failed, I failed, and I needed to figure out my own way to make that money. So one of the biggest tips that I received from one of my mentors was whatever your 9-to-5 salary is, have that in cash before you make the leap to full time. Because in case something like COVID happens, or for him it was 9/11 during that time, where you're not going to get business, no one's going to pay you a check unless it's you. So make sure you have a good chunk of money ready to go in case you cannot work, whether it's for your own fault or for like fault of the world. So just make sure you have that set up in case you don't have a backup plan or whatever. In terms of automation, I personally use Planoly. That's like a quick and easy thing that I use for my Instagram. So at the beginning, I was just posting as is, but then as you become a little bit more focused, you need to have some sort of strategy. And so Planoly was my way to do an Instagram strategy. And actually, once I got very busy, I had someone run my Planoly. I would just pop photos into it, and they would help me with all the captions, and they would schedule it, and they would post it. And same thing with photography. When I had my 9-to-5, I didn't have time to edit. Editing takes just as long as photographing. So if I did 2 8-hour wedding days on the weekend, I don't have 16 hours during the week to edit plus my 9-to-5. So I would outsource that and have someone edit for me, either my second photographer or someone else that I had networked and closely knew that I trusted to edit the photos. So some of the things that were automated for me are more of things I try to do myself and then slowly pass it on to people when I realized I had no longer had the bandwidth to do that.
Yeah, I started with Squarespace. Like, you don't need a whole lot. If you can't do it, or you're just like, I'm not design savvy, get on Fiverr and outsource. I mean, it's super inexpensive, Fiverr, I believe. There's plenty of other third-party like companies like that, but that's one that I've used in the past. When it comes to like scheduling, especially consultations and things like that, I use Calendly, and it just helps me it just helps me make sure that I can kind of automate, and it's not expensive. It's like $15 a month for like the basic plan, but that helps me set up consultations with my clients. It automates so that I don't have to be like, oh shoot, am I supposed to talk to who, when? It just makes everything a lot easier. There's plenty of CRMs out there. I would definitely invest in, if your clientele or whatever service you offer is at the point where you need to manage your clients at a fast pace, at a more efficient pace, then maybe invest in a CRM. A lot of them aren't super expensive, but you don't need that to start out. Use what you have right now to get where you want or what you want. As far as like, hiring a team and all of that stuff, go by what you feel like is going to be best for your business and your time. If you feel like, okay, I'm overwhelmed, delegate. Find a way to delegate. You can also barter services. If you're like, I can't afford to hire whoever, get with someone and have a conversation like, hey, I'm really good at marketing or branding, or whatever you're good at, or whatever you sell. Barter. See if you can like create a relationship there so that you can use that relationship for your business's advantage and make that mutually beneficial. And someone also asked about starting a side hustle that's fully remote, and if you need to be in your country or where you want to go. As long as you know how to speak to your audience in a way that's going to provide them value and that's going to help them with whatever they need and speaks to their pain points, you're going to win regardless of where you are. You can be wherever in the world and help someone, especially with the technology that we're blessed with today. So those are some of the systems that I use. And y'all, we got Zoom, we got tons of stuff we have. So there's tons of opportunity out here. Use the technology and find what you need.
And just going off of what Kristen said, there's a tremendous amount of tools out there. I oftentimes think about the fact that just about everything I use today didn't exist when I started college in 2003. So it's really crazy. Now, in terms of having a side hustle that's fully remote, the only, I think, importance of being in the country where most of your target clients are is in terms of business registration. So, I've been able to run just about every single business I've started in whatever location I was at. And again, it just came down to being able to register my LLC in whatever state or whatever I wanted to register it. And then just, try to find a business that enables you to work off of an internet connection and a laptop. There's plenty of them. And, outside of that, the only barrier is yourself. Again, we have Zoom, we have different tools. There's great CRMs out there. Once you have a little bit of money, I have invested in virtual assistants from the Philippines, from Jamaica, which out of Jamaica, you've got great English skills, you got a very similar time zone, and you've got a way lower average wage than the US-based worker. And then also South America. So those are great places to source virtual employees from.
The other thing too is I have a good colleague who actually is a traveling nomad. She does PR. She used to be in one of the big PR organizations or PR companies before she left. She's actually in Vietnam right now, and she was interviewed by Business Insider on figuring out whether she was going to leave the country or stay in the country. So I'm going to put her website in the link, and feel free to reach out to her. And she does communications and creative strategy from wherever she happens to be at the moment. So she's abroad.
Great. With another question, and it was asking about how you set prices for your services, and I think that what they mean is, did you like benchmark against your competitors, or did you come about on your own, or like how did you determine those prices? I think a lot of times when we start our own companies, we soon realize, maybe we're charging too much. No one's like taking us up on our services, and so how did you guys get to those your prices that you're at right now?
I definitely think you got to start with what you're offering, how valuable is that, and how much time you're putting into whatever it is that you're offering. If it is a product, then that might be something, and it's always beneficial to do market research. But if it's a product, if you're going, $500 and everybody else can get it for $50, then that might be something to reconsider. But when it comes to a service, especially, you have to really understand the time and the value that you're offering and shoot high. Like, I think one thing that's been common here is mindset. And when you really invest in like thinking about how big you can go and not belittling the things that you can do, it changes the game. Like, I used to come into this like, oh my God, what if I don't? Or what if someone doesn't pay for this? That mindset stopped me from making the money that I make now. And I want to make more. So like, you have to really think big and think that someone is going to pay you for whatever it is that you're offering. There's tons of people who are paying tons of money for the littlest things. And you will sit here and like really downgrade yourself just sitting in this box. You got to get out the box, think big, set your price high, and work backwards. So for example, if you want to make $1 million, like that sheet I showed, break it down. How much do I need to make in a month to make $1 million this year? And really work backwards and be realistic about what it is that you can actually accomplish.
And when you're providing those services, when you are setting whatever amount of dollar it is, make sure you're explaining what they're getting. Like, it's similar to when you go to the store and you buy something, you're like, okay, what does this product give me? Like, how much better will my life be with this product? You have to also, in some ways, explain the same thing. Like, what is someone getting when they receive a gallery of their photos, or when I show up to a session? Like, what are they actually getting, so that they understand the value that they're paying for that?
Yeah, I think that pricing is an entire conversation. There's mindset consideration to what you're offering. When it came to our virtual receptionist company, we were actually lower than a lot of our competitors because all of our agents are remote. And so we didn't have office expenses, and we were one of the few within our niche that was structured that way. And so we were able to retain the same margin while being less expensive. So it's okay to be a bit less expensive as long as you have the margin that you're looking for. Outside of those specific type of scenarios, you want to make sure that you're at a premium. Oftentimes when you start something, it's very difficult to fully realize what the costs are going to be. And so you need to account for that and have a buffer for that. Not just in terms of, knowing what you're worth, but also in terms of the reality of running the business once you already have launched it.
That's a really good point, Don. I think that's something that I had to learn getting into it. I started really, really low, and then I randomly was like, oh, okay, I'm going to charge this much to see what happens. And then it happened. But if it wouldn't have happened again consistently, I would not have been able to sit there for 3-4 months, just wait, well, I'm just going to stick to my price. Like, no, I would have had to probably budge at some point in some way or provide more value to compensate for whatever it is that I was charging. So like really making sure that, you know, you set the tone for yourself and don't lowball yourself. But if you need to learn as you go, that's okay too. Like I said, pivoting is okay. Like if you start low, but then you see, oh wow, people are paying for this, let me, like, you know, move it up a little bit, that's okay too. So yeah, definitely was a learn as you go experience. But once you get to that point where you realize your value and you know that people are going to pay for it, then you can like set that premium price and have options.
And in addition, don't forget about taxes. So if you
yeah.
I learned that lesson pretty quickly, and I learned it twice over, which I didn't need to. So when you have a 9-to-5, you're usually submitting a W form, right? And then when you do that side hustle on top of that, you're going to receive a 1089. And I didn't realize that miscellaneous expenses are taxed in a whole different bracket than your W work, right? So just know that like when you do that work, if you're traveling there, make sure you do your mileage, make sure you're, you know, if you had, did you have to get food on the way because it was a whole day event? Like make sure you are tracking all of those things, because come tax season, the IRS is coming for as much as they possibly can, and you need to learn how to offset those things. Also get an accountant, because that's 10 times better. Like if you don't know, if you're not good and don't have the time to learn into that, which I didn't, I offsetted that to someone else who knew exactly what they were doing, and that was what they were going to do. I would also suggest to talk to them when you decide to jump full time, because you are also now going into a whole different tax situation when you jump full time. And let me tell you, the first time I did that, I was not prepared to write a very, 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 very large check to the IRS all at once, which then like went into more learning about taxes and quarterly taxes. So my point to that is like, understand that with getting money also comes more responsibility and more understanding on your tax system.
Great. I think we're almost at time, so I just have one final question for everyone. And so you can really formulate this however you want, but more of a kind of a parting piece of advice for people, whether it's, you know, how a lot of people are, I think, are trying to figure out, you know we want to start a business, but sometimes like we're like, okay, well, I don't know exactly what it should be. And I think all three you touched upon, you know, whether it's, you know, passion or not doing a passion project as part of your business. But I know sometimes sometimes we see someone, whether it's a friend, you know, a former colleague, you know, at grad school, or someone we work with, or someone we have no connection with, and we kind of emulate them with our business. You know, they're kind of like a mentor in a way. You know, is there anyone, whether it's advice or mentor, or, you know, that you guys want to share with everyone as a piece of final parting words?
I will say my mentors have been the reason why I've gotten out of my scarcity mindset, out of really understanding what's possible. Because once you really see what's possible, you are unstoppable. But you have to really put yourself in that frame of mind. Sometimes it doesn't come naturally. So, you know, surrounding yourself with good mentors and people who are doing what you want to do is very important, or beyond where you want to be. One of my mentors is a millionaire and continues to make a lot of money, thrive, and impact a lot of people's lives. I talk to her on a daily basis. She's always elevating my mindset, because I'm like, man, like I can do so much more than I thought I could. I know people always bring up books, but like really investing in like some books that are telling you, here's the game plan, like it's possible. One book that's super simple, super quick read, The E-Myth. I love that book. It really shifted my mind about scalability and how to make sure that I'm not like driving myself insane in my business and trying to really burn the candle at both ends. Also, Crush It, Gary Vee, absolutely love him, serial entrepreneur. Follow him on Instagram, but he has Crushing It and then Jab, 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 Left Hook. I think that talked or spoke to me because I'm, come from a branding PR background, and he shares tons of stories. It's like, you're going to finish that book in a week, but he shares tons of stories about people who have been started from nothing and now have million-dollar, multi-million-dollar businesses. So surround yourself with good people who are definitely further along than you, and definitely read some self-help books to get you encouraged and motivated, and definitely don't devalue yourself. I can't express that enough. Go into this knowing that I'm going to make it regardless. There's tons of money out here. I'm going to make it regardless of what I do. You just have to execute and pivot when necessary. Failure, it happens, but that's all right. That don't mean that's where you're going to stop.
Yeah, for me, the biggest thing I got from my mentors was preparation. So if you have the luxury to have that 9 to 5 and have the time to prep, use it to prep for that business. Whether it's still going to be a side hustle, whether it's going to be a full-time, use that time wisely and prep. Now that you have kind of had your thoughts about what you're going to do, just do it. Like, jump into it, make the decision to do it. Because I think the hardest thing is like making the leap and saying, okay, I will do this. And then everything else will slowly kind of line up. Once you start telling other people that that's your idea, and, essentially talking to yourself about it, it will help you really map out a plan of how you want to do that. So for me, the biggest thing I got was plan ahead, plan for the worst, but make sure you have something, if you have the luxury, to have that 9 to 5, so that when you jump full time, you're jumping into really warm water and everything's great.
So whenever I've started something new, I typically try to find someone that is killing it, that is as most similar to me as I can find. And so then, frankly, when I find someone that's sort of like me, a Black man, and I see them doing very well, I realize there's really no excuses whatsoever, right? So you get faced with that truth, and, in my sense, it enabled me to work. The other thing I do on a daily basis is I'm in literally a Facebook message chat with like 3 other guys that are killing it, and we're sort of like accountability partners, and we just talk about what we're working on and help tremendously. And I'm also in about a 100-person mastermind, and the stories that come in on there are just, it really blows your mind about what's happening. And even though I've been able to create a lot of success, and I'm my 2012 me dream, well, some of these people are my 2020 me dream. And so it propels you to, really level up and take the next step forward. Make sure, like Chrys said and like Ana said, you're prepared, and you are surrounding yourself with people that are doing better than you are.
Great. Well, we're at time, so I appreciate everyone for joining us today, and thank you to our panelists for joining us and presenting their stories and taking questions for everyone. As I mentioned before, we will be sharing out the archive recording of this webinar, so expect that email probably, if it doesn't come out by tomorrow, it'll be early next week. But like I said, it's an archive link, so feel free to share it with friends and colleagues, anyone who's interested in starting their own side business. So, but with that said, thank you again, everyone, and enjoy your day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.